for Seasons of Grace, and today my guest is Xzarche Siegel.
Yes.
And I met her a couple of weeks ago at a conference here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And she was such a blessing when I was serving with her, but she has an awesome testimony, and I know that you're going to be blessed by it. So, Xzarche, thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you.
And I just can't wait for you to share with our audience that I know they're going to be blessed by what you say.
Yes, so first forgive me for my allergies that are
No worries.
trying to take me down today. But man, where can I start? So I grew up, I was born in Dallas, but my youngest sister has cerebral palsy. And so we moved to California, where the doctors were a lot better, but we were also trying to separate from my dad. My parents had a bit of a toxic relationship. And then when we moved to California was when my mom got heavily introduced to, it started with cocaine, and then it escalated to crack cocaine, and anyone in the 90s know that was a very terrible epidemic for a lot of African American cultures.
Correct.
And my dad followed us out to California, and like I said, they had a very toxic relationship. He then also too became an addict and a very prominent drug dealer in California. And so you name it, I experienced it. There were moments where my parents would smoke our rent money, so we would get evicted, and we slept on the streets. There were days where we didn't have food because my mom would go on these binges where she would be gone for weeks at a time, and it was just me and my two sisters. And my oldest sister only knew how to make rice, so there was a lot of days where that was all we had. But soon after that, we got placed in foster care, and we were in foster care for a few years. And my foster mom is no longer living. She's in heaven now. And then my sisters and I got adopted. We were separated because my youngest sister, like I said, is a special needs child, so she had to go to a special foster care family. And then we got adopted. My grandma adopted us, brought us back together. But, and when you experience at a very young age such a severe form of trauma, it really weighs on you. As a child, you start to feel like, what is it about me that's unlovable? Because the two people who were placed on this planet to care for me and my parents chose an addiction over raising their kids. And then you go into foster care and you learn that these people are being paid to take care of you, not necessarily, yes, out of the kindness of their heart, but there's compensation on the other hand of that. So when you're young, you don't really understand that. And then being adopted and being told that I'm a ward of the state. I don't belong to anyone but the state of California. And so when you're young, you don't really know how to work through that. So that makes you start to feel a very particular way about yourself. You start to feel unlovable. You start to feel like, what is it about you that God was like, I just don't care about my child to give her a good home? Because you go to school and you see all the kids with the nice clothes, and your clothes came from the Salvation Army. And you go back to school after Christmas and all the kids talk about all the gifts they got, and yours came from the angel tree in a trash bag. And then kids find out that you were in foster care, and they make fun of you, and you lose friendships because for some reason you're going to be just like your parents, right? And so, you start to get a complex, and you're like, God, why can't I have that? Like, why can't my dad come to the father-daughter dance? Why can't my mom be there for my first boyfriend, for my first, Sweet 16, my prom, my graduation? My mom left when I was 8, is when we got placed in foster care. I didn't see her again until I was 18. My dad left when I was 7, and I didn't see him again until I was 25. and he is actually incarcerated. Both of my parents have their own testimony. They have been in and out of the prison system and have worked through their addiction, and both are clean and sober. My mom went back to college. Her and I have a great relationship now. My dad and I have a great relationship. But like I said, there was a lot that going through that puts on you. So with that, I started to create a complex that I wasn't good enough and that I was unlovable. And so on the other side of that comes a lot of attempts to take your own life, a lot of trying to find value in men, in alcohol, in other substance abuse, just trying to fill a hole and a void that was lost by your parents. So the very last time that I tried to take my life, I was 23 years old. This was maybe time number 3 or 4, I can't count. And this was the worst time. I had just called off this relationship. I was engaged to this guy, and she cheated on me, and I was just like, what is it? Like, the common denominator of everything that has culminated in my life was me. And so I was like, well then, I just can't, and at that point I wanted to no longer be present. And so I felt like there was nothing about me that was worth saving. So I went to a 12-story parking structure. I drank an overabundance amount of alcohol. And I had some straight razors, and I sliced every ounce of my arms and my legs. I lost quite an amount of blood. And one of the 3 was meant to kill me. Either I fell off the structure, either the alcohol poisoning with the amount of alcohol that I had consumed, or the amount of blood that I had lost. But Jesus said otherwise.
Yes.
And my roommate at the time, who's still a really good friend of mine, she lives in Houston. She found me. How she found me? Again, by the grace of God. I'm telling you,
faithful God.
And she's not even a believer.
Okay.
And so, but Jesus made a way for her to find me. And she told me in that moment, she said, Shay, I either have to take you to the hospital and they're going to try to commit you, or we had a friend that knew a lot of prominent doctors that came to our apartment, bandaged me up, and they were like, you have to get help. And at that point, it was just a journey up until, counseling, understanding what addiction meant, trying to really find the purpose of why God let me go through what he did, and what kingdom glory was going to be on the other side of that, and how my story, very similar to so many kids that I grew up in foster care with, that I was in the shelters with, experienced, but what impact I could have on saying, in that moment, God saved me.
Amen.
And for what, I don't know. But he was determined to show me throughout these last few years. So, so that's why I'm here today. And so I'm sharing this story with you guys, because I think that so often we feel ashamed about the things that we've done. For the longest time, I never shared my story because people look at you differently. They feel sorry for you. They judge you based upon the background that you come from. So I was silenced. But like you said, there's something in the power of our testimony.
There is.
And so, that's...
And I know that God saved you for such a time as this. And so just tell them, just on the other side of that now, where you are, and who you are.
Oh my God!
Because what a powerful woman of God she is, and just in silence, she's strong. And so I'm so glad that the enemy wasn't allowed to silence you, because he figured, okay, we can deter this, but God said no. And so when the Lord has his hand on your life,
my God.
he's such a good dad.
He
and
is.
so his faithfulness, you guys have to hear what God is doing in her life today. Yes.
I mean,
Hallelujah.
like there are no words. So I have been with my company. So I work for Apple, and I've been with my company for 12 years, and I have gotten to do some of the most incredible things. I mean, I've been a leader for them for the past 7 years. I've gotten to travel across the world to help open up Apple stores. I've gotten to work in our corporate offices in California and sit in conversations with people who have doctorate degrees. And this is a little girl who grew up in the hood.
That's all right.
A young little girl who grew up on the streets, getting the opportunity to affect one of the most prominent companies in the world. And so what I love about the Lord is that he gets to go against the status quo. Statistics will tell you that people who grow up the way that I did will have a form of addiction themselves, will spend time incarcerated for a certain amount of time or for life, will drop out of school, will have a ton of children, and none of that is a part of my story. I don't have any kids, not yet. My prayer is that God changes that one day in whatever capacity that looks like.
When she's found.
When I'm found, yes ma'am. But I went to college. I didn't drop out of high school. I don't have any type of addictions. Not to say that I didn't deal with my own form of trying to fill a void, but the Lord didn't allow that generational curse that had already been put on my family to take stronghold in me. It had its moments, but the Lord was like, not my child.
That's right.
And so to be able to be where I am, so working for Apple has taken me to different places around the world, and also brought me here to Tulsa, and I've gotten to be a part of some really great ministries. I was with my previous church for 6 years and got to do some incredible youth ministry work there. Got to pour in and love on kids and let them know that, like, this is a moment.
Yes.
And I know right now that it feels so overwhelming. And I know right now that the generation that we're raising up, they call it the Gen Z generation. A lot of them find their validation in social media, in what the world says. But I want them to know that, like, it doesn't matter what the world says. It matters what God says. And you can go against the grain. And I know it's hard to walk through because I've walked through it, but I want them to know that there's something so beautiful on the other side of it.
And I so appreciate you, because someone will listen to you. You've gone through that, so you validate, you're authentic in what you're saying. And so you can say, I understand, babe, because I walk this way. And so that's what's so sweet to me. And I'm so glad. Well, God knows, because he knows the end from the beginning. So he knew, okay, Shay, that's how it feels now, but I'm taking you to a place. And how sweet. And he even has more for you. And it's just awesome to see God's hand on your life. And like I said, just meeting you in your silent presence, it was strong. And just your testimony that morning after the glory of God fell at the conference was just awesome and all-filled. And I so appreciated that and wanted you to share your story. And I know that what you've said today will be a blessing to so many. And so I honor God for you. And pray that he just continues to use you for his glory. And he will. And so I'm just waiting for the next story, the next season of your life, because this is beautiful. And I'm so grateful that we have met. And I'm grateful for this time and your presence. And God gets all the glory.
Yes, he does.
And so hear and enjoy, because this is a woman of God who has been through much, but has come out on the other side and tells the story of God's grace and mercy. And so if he did it for her, he can certainly do it for you. And so just rest in that. And so thank you so much. Thank you so much. And to God be the glory. Seasons of grace.